Hi guys, Chris and PJ here live in our favorite place on earth.
Because it's a Friday, Chris.
It's our favorite place on earth every other day too. Right here in the Dream Giveaway Garage. Fire It Up Friday. Special guest who you'll meet in a moment. Dan from the SCCA. We're going to do part 2 of the interview with Dan and ask him all sorts of cool questions about cars and racing and who knows.
And it's a Fire It Up Friday.
And it's a Fire It Up Friday. We're going to let Dan choose which car we're going to fire up. First of all, guys, don't try to get your entries for the F100 anymore. That ended at midnight, and thanks to everybody who entered. Wow, you guys really, really want to win this truck, don't you? So
yeah, that truck right over there.
June 1st.
June 1st is the drawing date.
June 1st we'll have the drawing date. Plus, on June 9th, we're going to be holding a double award ceremony, the BMW M4 and the 87 Monte Carlo SS with 619 miles on it.
Right where you're standing, Chris.
They'll be right where, or behind right where I'm standing, one of the two. So that's going to be a whole lot of fun. And look at all these cool cars behind us. Danny Rodriguez from the SCCA. Good morning.
Good morning, my friend. It looks like you're in a much nicer garage than mine. I'm a little bit jealous.
Well, you can come visit anytime. You know that. We had a great end to the F100 yesterday. It's there right behind us. So I'm going to start and say, have you ever had trucks race in SCCA events?
Yes, we've had actually back in the early 80s, and I forget the exact name of it, but actually we had a truck series that ran the Firestone Firehawk sanction. And so we had things like the Dodge Dakota, the Ford Ranger, the Mazda was the B2000, all competed in that series in the early 80s. I wish we had more video of it because I'm sure those races were epic. But yeah, we had trucks race in the SCCA. Lost you for a quick moment there.
Yeah, sorry, lost you there.
No worries. How about SUVs? How about crossovers?
Yeah, actually, a lot of SUVs have been really popular in our Track Night in America program. As long as you're wider than you're tall, you can come and race. Best story I have there, I met a husband and wife in 2020 who brought their tow truck and their Camaro race car to the event. The thing that they realized is they were both novices and they couldn't take the same Camaro at the same time. And so they actually ripped out the interior in their Honda Ridgeline, and she competed in the Ridgeline while he competed in the Camaro. And then in the last session, we switched. So you can bring any kind of pickup and SUV so long as it's wider than it's tall. That's a program you can come have fun with.
Hey, Dad, how much does it cost for an SCCA annual membership, and what does that get you?
It's $80 for the national membership. We have 115 regions, so typically we ask a new member to specify their home region, and that region will have a due. I know mine's $35 a year, so for about 115 bucks is my full freight. As a member of the SCCA, that allows you access to a litany of member benefits from over 30 different companies, discounts on things like brake products, home goods, services, coaching, travel benefits, you name it, it's pretty much there in that member benefit. It also allows you discounted access to many of our programs, including our time trial program and other events. It also keeps you in the know with the club. You get a bi-monthly magazine that's produced by Racer Magazine called Sports Car Mag, and a bunch of other things. So it's a very robust member benefit that you get for being a member.
And do you have to be a member to participate in a local SCCA event?
For events like autocross or track night, you don't need to be. If you wish to, let's say get more serious in your competitive adventure, then yes, you would. Because as a member, I'll give you an example. Part of your membership is your licensure. And so here is my card, and on the back of my card are all the different licenses that I hold, including my racing license. So that's a part of membership as well.
Let's see if anybody's out there this morning watching us, and we have some live questions from our studio audience. PJ?
So far, no questions, but let's see. Larry West says the Viper truck. Is it something that you can actually race in the
Yes.
SCCA?
Yes. I'm not sure about the wheelbase, but I do know, again, going back to that rule of wider than tall, that would definitely have a home at Track Night in America. It may also have a home in programs like Road Rally, which is done on civilian streets, and other programs as well. So for sure, the Viper truck would be my pick of what's currently in the Dream Giveaway garage, because could you imagine how much fun that thing would be out on a track?
Wow, so that's your favorite one in the Dream Giveaway Garage. Thanks for sharing that, Dan. And let's talk a little bit about vintage racing. Most of our audience will recognize the phrase Trans Am Racing and would recognize names like Parnelli Jones. Tell us, the Trans Am Racing is one of the divisions of the SCCA, or was one of the divisions. Do you mind clarifying that?
Yeah, so Trans Am, or Trans American Racing, was created in 1966 as a way for the American OEMs to compete with one another. The SCCA has long held classes that are called A sedan and B sedan. A sedan have always been pony cars, V8 engine, rear-wheel drive, muscle cars. But Trans Am was created to be a pro version of those classes. And since 1966, Trans Am has continued to compete. In my estimation, there's really been three really strong eras of Trans Am. The first being the late 60s and early 70s, where you saw organizations like Roger Penske with AMC. You saw Mark Donohue race for him. Parnelli Jones racing with Mustang. You saw Bud Moore compete. In the 80s and 90s, there was another resurgence of Trans Am. That's when names like Tommy Kendall, Dorsey Schrader, Scott Speed all became famous. And at that time, as well as in the 60s and 70s, Trans Am was seen as the big national car racing league. NASCAR was not yet really famous. It was in the 90s, and I think Dale Earnhardt had a lot to do with it, that NASCAR became the vogue motorsport. But Trans Am is currently very much in vogue. We've got, through Pirello Motorsports, holding a franchise licensing deal where Trans Am is still being raced today. And the cars that are raced now are some of the gnarliest machines you could ever see. They're 900 horsepower, tube chassis, full aero monsters that when they pass you on the front straight, you'll feel it in your chest through your bones, because there's nothing like it. Most of those engines run similar engines, SB2s and Snowflake engines to NASCAR programs. And so they're just monsters. Between Trans Am 1, Trans Am 2, and the GT classes, when a Trans Am race comes to town, you should expect about 100 cars on track. Not all at once, but between the different run groups, it is a heck of a ton.
Wow, that's great information, Dan. Thinking about racing, how much now to get into modern Trans Am racing, you have to have a full-blown racer's license like you would get from the Skip Barber Racing School, correct?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Okay.
Skip Barber is a great place to go to get your competition license. Regions of the SCCA can do that as well. But Skip Barber is a great way to go for sure.
How about name some famous tracks that everyday Joes can take out their classic car, their modern car, everything in between, and participate in an SCCA event?
Well, great. Probably the lowest barrier to entry. I keep mentioning Track Night in America, but it's a really great program for people who want to experience going on track for the first time. We visit over 33 tracks across the country, which include places like Daytona, Charlotte Roval. We have a couple dates at Lime Rock. We have a couple dates at VIR. We have dates West Coast, East Coast, you name it. Basically, those bucket list tracks you can go to through Track Night America, and it's a $160 or $170 entry. You get 3 20-minute sessions, and you get to race the same track that you've seen Formula One, IMSA, stock car compete on, and that's pretty darn incredible.
Okay, I'll tell you what, Dan, that's such great information. How about, we've been talking about the Viper truck, and thanks for mentioning that you like it. Today is Fire It Up Friday in the Dream Giveaway Garage, and since you are our special guest, why don't you pick a vehicle for us to fire up?
It's got to be the Viper truck. It's
Okay.
8.4 liter V10 north of 500 horsepower, 500 foot-pounds of torque. How can you say no to that?
Okay, let's walk on over to the Viper truck, shall we?
Heck yeah.
Sorry about that. Hung up here. Sorry.
All right, guys. Come on over here, the Cadillac, the Mach-E, the Viper truck, back into the Supra and the TOD Pro GT500, and the Bronco over here. The two Corvettes up on the backyard buddy lift, looking really good there. And, of course, the big diesel truck over there next to the Rhino Classifieds banner. Okay, let's see if I can do it. I got my Dan proud. I'm going to fire up his favorite vehicle.
Let me get behind you here, Chris. See the cabin in here.
Okay, here we go.
These things sound so cool.
That was fun, PJ. That was fun, Dan. Thanks for letting me do that for you.
Absolutely. PJ, how was your hearing? Can you still hear anything?
I can still hear everything. And it's not as bad as some of the older cars with the exhaust. So we're good here on both counts.
Here, let me get out, and we'll thank Dan again for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Before Dan goes, Mike Brown says, I would love to run the GT500 in the SCCA.
Oh, well, yeah, that's a no-brainer, right?
Oh, yes. Get him in touch with me. I would love to make that a reality. GT500 is quite the track weapon, and you've got so many different homes in the SCCA for that car. We would love to have you at one of our events.
Great. Hey, Dan, give that website again for people to learn more about the SCCA.
Pretty easy, www.scca.com. If you want to look up an event near you, then it's just /events. Also check out www.tracknightinamerica.com. That's the easiest way to get you and your car on track this summer.
Great. Well, I'll tell you what, let's kick off the weekend in style. Dan from the SCCA, thanks for joining us in the Dream Giveaway Garage. And we will see you guys on Monday in our favorite place on earth, the Dream Giveaway Garage. Have a great weekend, everybody.